Guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. I'm Peter Martin, delighted to have your company on the programme on Facebook, YouTube, and of course on Twitter. We are broadcasting on Periscope, bringing you news every day, Monday to Friday. Hopefully you can like, share and follow us on Facebook and hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Alan Ruff and Tam McManus here with me, looking ahead to the Europa League. We'll hear from Steven Gerrard, Alan McGregor. We'll also hear from Neil Lennon, and we will hear from Christopher Julian. And with a bit of luck, if the keys work and somebody lets him into the office where he should be, we might hear from hear from Charlie Adam every now and then.
He's in a prison in Bangkok.
He's in a police lineup.
Yeah,
lads. This will never be beaten. This will not be beaten. I'm telling the viewers, this is incredible. I'm sorry, everybody, but I've tried to be as well as I can. I'm meant to be moving house at the moment, but this is what has to be done. And I'm glad I might be here, but I might cut off at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as they say, we can get a good 1.5 minutes of quality out of Charlie and then bump him. But nevertheless, if you want to pass on any messages or give us your opinion, you can do on our Facebook feed, and we'll be more than happy to react to that as well. Okay, first thing, I'm not quite sure what was happening with our producer there, but nevertheless, first things first. St Mirren, this is a strange one that's just come out, Roughie. I'm caught on the hop with this, as I'm sure more than a few St Mirren fans are as well. It's a police probing St Mirren's finances after an annual audit. Now, this is the early stages of this investigation, so obviously they're looking into financial irregularities. This is what St Mirren had to say on the situation. St Mirren can confirm following the annual audit process where several historic issues were highlighted. Both SMISA and Kibble representatives tabled a report with a recommended course of action. These actions will facilitate that going forward all aspects of the club's business practices are strong, compliant and transparent to all, whilst ensuring they meet the highest level possible to ensure the club's reputation is beyond reproach. The club has moved swiftly to appoint a highly reputable firm of accountants to carry out a forensic review of its operations to allow for any required action to be taken. St Mirren will cooperate with all aspects of the process. So, interesting one there, Roughie. It's a strange one. I think I don't want us to comment on what the irregularities are, but I'm sure Jim Goodwin and, of course, the St Mirren board need this like a hole in the head in the middle of COVID.
Yeah, it's just the first line, Peter. Can you read it out again? Because that's the line I don't really grasp. You know that.
Well, after an audit,
are they trying to say there they know there's irregularities?
Well, what they're saying is St Mirren, after an audit, the proposed action was for an investigation into financial irregularities, and they are quite happy for that investigation to take place. Now, we can't say anything greater than that, other than the fact that this is a huge inconvenience and obviously raises a number of questions which I think the St Mirren fans will want to be asking the board.
Yeah, well, right away, you know, that when you questioned any kind of financial stuff at a football club, you know, fans will want to ask questions. And obviously, as you know, I am a board member, and we have just had our AGM, and we've just had, I know the procedure for audits to be signed off. It's a very rigorous, you know, duty that has to be performed for the accountants and through the CEO, and it's run by all the board members, and everybody has to sanction it before it's sent away. So it's a hard one to get your head round, because obviously if it's come up, it should have come up when it was discussed at all the levels before it was audited.
Yeah, absolutely. A big hi to lots of people joining us and posting messages and asking questions on the Facebook feed as well, and YouTube. We're more than happy to discuss some of the burning issues. Of course, the one burning issue that won't go away ahead of the Europa League match against AC Milan is Neil Lennon. They're sticking by him. That's the first thing, and I think everybody has to get on with it, move on, and assess where Celtic are when they stick by their manager. And by sticking by him, this is what the Chief Executive, Peter Lawwell, had to say on the issue. Like all those with Celtic's best interests at heart, everyone is feeling the same hurt, disappointment and frustration after the team's results. Over and above that, it goes on to say, Neil, the players and the backroom staff have never been more determined to succeed. Having enjoyed unprecedented success, we need strength in adversity. We know many Celtic fans share very honest and real concerns, and they are being heard. Every decision taken is with the club's best interests at heart. There is a long way to go, and everyone is ready for the challenge. Later this month, Celtic will attempt to achieve a quadruple treble in domestic competitions. We can best prepare for that by moving forward together with the sole aim of achieving success for the club. So it's a brave move, I have to say. Full marks to Peter Lawwell and the board. The reason why I think it's a brave move, Tam, is because quite simply, if this goes pear-shaped, and it could soon, then all of a sudden the anger will be totally on the board.
Yep. I thought it was a bit of a nothing statement, to be honest, Peter. I think it's just stuff that fans want to hear. And I just think there was nothing in that statement at all. I don't believe that Neil Lennon can turn that around. Obviously, the board do. Peter Lawwell does. And they're going to give him, I think they'll probably give him to the cup final now, unless they drop points against St Johnstone at the weekend. I think the game tomorrow night is an irrelevance. I think that Celtic are out anyway. And they'll go there, and whatever the result, I think he'll still get till Sunday. But I don't think there was a lot in that statement. I read it last night, and a lot of supporters were not happy about the statement. A lot of supporters are wanting Neil Lennon out, let's be honest. And as you said, if this continues and they drop points against an informed St Johnstone side, who I think are 10 or 11 games unbeaten, tough game at Parkhead at the weekend, then all of a sudden the 10 in a row is totally dead. Celtic can't afford to drop any more points, and I think that's why the supporters want to see a change in the manager now, to give themselves even a slight opportunity to go and catch Rangers, because I wouldn't fancy Celtic to beat anyone at the minute at the form they're in.
Yeah, well, Patrick McManus says, let's not have another 40 minutes on PLZ talking about Neil Lennon. The position is clear. Well, Patrick, the position might be clear to you, but it's certainly not clear to the majority of Celtic fans who are looking at this, and they quite simply think it's just muddying the waters. It's news, it's pertinent, it's up to date, it's something that's happening now, Roughie. And quite simply, some Celtic fans want to sweep it under the carpet. This one is a game-by-game basis on the edge of a cliff.
Yeah, I think everybody knows that. I think Neil Lennon knows it. I think the players know it. And I'm sure the board know it as well. That's just a statement being flung out for most of the supporters who do want to back him. But you're right, there are a lot of people who don't want to back him. And as we've said in the show on numerous occasions, only good results and wins will turn the doubters back on board. And that's the only way you're going to do it. And he's been given time. I said on the show, I thought he should be given time. And you can't defend the last 10 results. There's no doubt about that. But if you, as I said yesterday, if you put the last 10 results to the back burner and look at the bigger picture, which is, as I said yesterday, 22 games in the season, he's lost 6. 4 of them have been against European sides, and one's Ross County and Rangers.
Roughie,
that's the way I look at it.
Roughie, but with all due respect, when has anybody looked at the bigger picture? When has anybody looked at the bigger?
That's what I looked at.
Only as good as your last game, as it all says.
I'm amazed that you're continuing to go down this road.
I am.
But I'm going to ask you this, apart from anything else, apart from being somewhat soppy and sentimental about the whole issue, how can you sit and say that on the edge of potentially the league being Rangers going, there could be 14?
Yeah, but again, Peter, you're painting pictures that aren't there. You're painting pictures that aren't there yet.
No, but I'm saying what happens. What you're painting pictures of this rosy garden when clearly it's not.
It's not a rosy garden. I've just said you can't defend the 10 games or the performances that are there. But if you're going to sack a manager, you have to take a step back and look at the overall picture of the season. And it's okay saying, they've not played well, or they've not come up to expectations, and I buy into that. But they've won games. They went about 8 or 9 games undefeated, and then they hit the Rangers game and they hit European games. They've only been beaten by Rangers and Ross County.
Yeah, out of the cup. out of the
Two
Europa League,
games.
beaten
I
by
don't think 2 games.
Ferencvaros. Well, not just 2
Well,
games.
that's what I'm
They
saying.
were beaten by
4
Ferencvaros.
Yeah, they've been beaten by 4 European teams in Rangers and Ross County.
And they're 11 points clear.
Rangers
11 points
my
clear.
opinion, it's not sackable for me. What's in the future might be sackable, but not now.
Well, hold on a second.
Rangers. How long do you leave it, Roughie?
Well, how long do you leave it, Roughie? To the cup final. What happens if they lose to St Johnstone on Sunday, lose the next league match after that, and Rangers are 17 points clear? Do you still go to the new year?
Yeah, you have to. But then you have to go and make a decision on that. But that hasn't happened yet.
You're basically saying you only sack him. Hold on a second. I just want to get your business thought process.
Right,
here.
okay.
You're saying you only sack him when it gets to a point where it looks as if there's no way they can retrieve it.
Well, what is your no return? What is your no way back?
Now's mine.
Well, but there is a way back. There is a way back if you be positive and you win your games in hand. Being positive.
I'm asking you this.
It's still there.
You're adopting the Hearts attitude, which is basically there's still 8 games left and it's still retrievable.
Yeah. In the footballing world, yeah.
I accept that. I think I just want to get it clear. I think we've got to get a real insight into why, at what point you think as a board member, and you've got that insight as Partick Thistle, at what point you make the change. And I think it's good that you've cleared it up. We could go round in circles, all of us, because not one of us has the definitive on this. I've got Celtic fans on here saying get rid of him, Celtic fans saying stick with him. I mean, if it was me personally, because of I like Neil Lennon, it's very difficult for me to call it, but I'm calling it as a journalist, looking at it and saying I've watched them since the start of the season for 90% of their games. And quite clearly, I think the first point of call here is the players have thrown him under a bus. The second point of call on is I think the manager is at a point now where I am amazed they're continuing with him, because Peter, I don't think he can get in and out of this crew.
Peter, I think the players have chucked it, Roughie. Sorry, the players have chucked it. I think they're not playing for the manager anymore. And I've been in situations, I've been in teams. The team, clearly the players have chucked it for the manager, and the manager pays his job. I've been in different clubs that's happened, and I can see now at Celtic. There's only one way Celtic are going, and it's down the way.
It's okay saying that now, Tam. But what happens? Lo and behold, if he gets a draw in Milan and he beats St Johnstone, does that mean the players have chucked him under a bus?
The Milan results are irrelevant. I think the Milan results are irrelevant.
Well, say they beat St Johnstone 4-0. Say they beat St Johnstone 4-0. Does that mean the players have threw the manager under the bus?
If they beat St Johnstone 4-0,
if they're winning the game comfortably.
Listen. Let's not talk about.
I'm only doing what you're doing. You're pointing negative. I'm pointing the positive.
That's what I'm saying to you. Let's not all be guilty then of ifs, buts, and maybes. The only thing I was trying to establish was, why do you persist to the point where you say, I just wanted to know where your cut-off point was. It's not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying that what you're talking about is rubbish. I'm just saying I think at this point that the players have thrown him under a bus, and I think there's a long way back, and I think it needs a fresh approach to it. Tam thinks he should go now. You think he should stay on longer. I think the only point that Celtic fans are looking at now, and you're perfectly entitled to say go on longer, because that's what Peter Lawwell's doing. He's following your point on this, which is we're going to let him go on longer. We believe he can turn it around. And if Peter Lawwell and Neil Lennon turn it around, he'll be vindicated. But I'll tell you, the only thing that I think on it is they're playing a very, very big gamble on this now, because they're on the edge of the cliff, 11 points behind, 2 games in hand, and I can't see them going on a run. That's only because I've watched them regularly. I can't see them going on a run, Roughie. But by the way, let's have a look. Let's have a look now at this whole thing in perspective from our reporter Gabriel Antoniazzi.
Celtic season is in turmoil, with the chief executive telling the fans to back the manager amid protests, with the team out of the Betfred Cup, Europa League and trailing table toppers Rangers by 11 points. But how did it get to this stage? Pre-season came with its bumps as Lee Griffiths was left behind after returning to training unfit before breaking COVID rules with a house party a few weeks later. A 1-1 draw at Kilmarnock with the first points dropped, but the fact that Bolly Bolingoli played after flying to Spain without telling anyone made matters worse, postponing 2 games. Bolingoli was out the door not long after. The now annual Champions League elimination came at the hands of Ferencváros 2-1 at home, which prompted manager Neil Lennon to claim some of his top players don't want to be at the club. None were sold. Shane Duffy arrived for a £2 million loan deal, but he failed to shore up a leaky defence and was eventually dropped. After the October international break, Odsonne Edouard, Nir Bitton, Hatem El Hamad and Ryan Christie are all caught up in different COVID incidents, making them unavailable for the next 2 weeks. Then began their losing run, a limp 2-0 defeat at home to Rangers before a loss to AC Milan and draws with Aberdeen and Lille. 2 4-1 losses to Sparta Prague made matters worse and ensured Europa League elimination, with a 2-2 draw with Hibs sandwiched in between, leaving them 11 points behind their old firm rivals. The final straw for many fans, though, was the 2-0 loss at home to Ross County in the Betfred Cup. It was their first domestic cup defeat in 36 games, and it meant the Hoops had won just 2 in their last 10. Banners and eventually protests outside the stadium led to the police having to escort players and staff away from their own stadium. However, another show of faith from the Celtic board means Lennon has another chance to attempt to turn around their season, although a trip to the San Siro and AC Milan is a daunting task to begin with.
Well, there's a fair bit of evidence, Tam.
Peter, I was just listening to with Gabby there. When Neil Lennon came out after the Ferencváros game and said that certain players didn't want to be at the club, I think that was a big mistake, Peter. I think it was a big mistake. You know, I liken it to, if you can remember, when Terry Butcher came in as the manager of Hibs. Terry Butcher came out and said some of these players won't be here next season, they won't be getting contracts, and he actually told them to their face in the January that they weren't going to be at the club the following season. And Hibs went on a downward spiral and lost near enough every game and get relegated. I think that Neil Lennon has alienated a certain players by coming out with that comment that players didn't want to be there. I think that was wrong. I don't think he should have said that publicly. I think it was maybe one for the fans, but I think in terms of the players, some of the players would be glad. You're right, I don't want to be here, and they've down tools. So just picking up on that wee point that Neil Lennon said there about didn't think players were going to be there. I think that was a big mistake from Neil Lennon.
The manager...
Tam, do you not remember he did that at Hibs? Do you remember he slaughtered players at Hibs? And he got a reaction. He got a reaction. But you
can only get a reaction now and again, Roughie. You can't do it all the time. You don't have to raise Rovers game within the championship.
Depends what kind of players you've got. Depends what players you've got there in the dressing room.
Roughie, I think you can crack the whip, Peter. I think you can crack the whip once or twice in terms of blasting your players in public. You can't do it every week because you'll not get a reaction. You need to do it once in a blue moon to get that reaction. If you keep cracking players with a whip, then you need the carrot and the stick attitude. You need to try and put an arm around them at times as well. So I think you can get away with it now and again, Roughie. And he done it after the Race Rovers game. I can remember it in the championship when he came out on the radio. I was listening to it and he slaughtered the players and he got a reaction. But you can't do it every couple of weeks because you'll not get the same reaction from the players. And I think Neil Lennon's doing that all the time at the minute.
Well, here's Neil Lennon's reaction to some of the protests by the fans.
On the scenes on Sunday, we were disappointed, we're hurt. I understand the sort of frustrations of, the supporters because ultimately, we're not in a great run at the minute. But it serves no purpose, particularly for the players. I'm old enough and big enough to take, criticism, abuse, and some of it's justified, some of it's over the top. That's the role of a manager. And that's the responsibility you have to bear. We're all in agreement. We must do better, and we have to do that with results and performances. I think it only takes a flick of a switch. I think they're lacking a little bit of confidence, a little bit of belief at the minute, but it can turn around very quickly. And then it's baby steps after that. Build. So tomorrow we're looking for a performance and a result to start with.
Well, that's what he's hoping for. I think, yet again, with the board backing him, Roughie, I think tomorrow's it's just a free hit. It's just the same as I thought last week. I thought Sparta Prague were going to batter them over there. They did, and I think AC Milan will batter them in Milan.
Yeah, but I don't see it being a free hit, Peter. If it's a heavy defeat, everything will just magnitude again. I think he knows that. If it was going to be a 4 or a 5 or a 6 or something like that, then it just makes matters worse for the weekend. Yeah, so I know you're coming.
Yeah, lost Roughie just at that key point there. But Tam, I think losing to Sparta Prague, who many thought Celtic should be beating, losing to Ross County, who many thought Celtic should easily be beating. This is a Ross County side that weren't playing well. So, I mean, with that in mind, I think Milan's a free hit.
I tend to agree with Roughie, Peter. I don't think it's a free hit in terms of Celtic go over there and get hammered 5 or 6-0. Then, I mean, surely it can't be a free hit. You've got to go over there and play with a bit of pride and put a performance in, Peter. You can't go over there and get beat 5 or 6-0 and just come back and say, oh, it's all right. It was a free hit.
They're out of the
I don't think you can do that, Peter. I know they're out, but they can't go. They need to go over and put a bit of pride in for themselves and the supporters watching. You can't go over there and just capitulate and say we're just going to get beat 5 or 6.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say before we get cut off. It's got to be a performance. It can't be another hammer going into the weekend. It needs to be something positive. I don't think any decision would be made by a 4 or a 5 or a 6 because he will be there at the weekend. But he won't want the players getting into that game on the end of that.
So a 5-0 hammering from Milan, he's still there, Roughie.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah, well, that's okay. So you don't need to argue with me on it. Tomorrow's a free hit. You get spanked 5-0. It matters not a jot.
Yeah, I know what you mean, a free hit, but he won't want to get spanked getting into that game of the weekend.
In your mind, if he gets spanked,
he needs to get a performance.
I just want to clarify.
If he gets spanked 5-0, he could get sacked.
No. In Roughie's mind, it keeps going.
Hit,
no, in Roughie's mind, it keeps going. Am I right, Roughie? Am I picking you up right?
Yeah.
That's fine.
You've just said it's a free hit.
It is a free hit. It's a free hit.
Well, then, so it doesn't matter then.
They're sticking by him. No, but that's my opinion on it. Yours is a different opinion. Yours is if they get beat 5-0. If they're beaten 5-0, then he's still there anyway.
For the weekend.
So as far as
I don't think it will be. I don't understand that chain of thought. I don't.
Well, listen.
How can you go into a game and
the chief executive is back?
He's not being beat 5-0.
No, of course not.
No, but I'm just saying.
Of course, it's.
So let me say they go over to Milan and beat Milan 2-1. What's your view on that?
Roughie, can I just say to you? Have you actually been at a game this season to watch Celtic?
Yeah, I saw
some
of the games.
Have you watched Celtic? Yeah. Have you watched a game?
Did
90 minutes?
Were they not 2 up against the last team they were going to get humped with?
And blew it because their defence is rotten.
Yeah, but they went away.
Have you watched the 90 minutes? Their defence is
You
rotten.
haven't put in a consistent good performance over 90 minutes.
I can't defend that. I'm not defending that. I've said that right for the start. I cannot defend the last 10 games. But in football, you have to be positive.
They're not going to win 2-1 against AC Milan on the
Nobody's
evidence
saying
of what
they're
I've been
going to win
watching.
2-1.
You've just mentioned it.
No, I'm saying what if? What if they go over and put in a performance and get, say, 2 each?
Okay, we're going round in circles. Listen, at the end of the day, the board have belief in the manager, and the manager's quite happy that the board have stated they've got belief in him.
Talked about the game, talked about the players, talked about the result, and obviously talked about the values that we have, the durability that the club has. We're strong. We're not in great shape at the minute in terms of results and performances, but I've got a great relationship with them. It doesn't count for anything if the results keep going the right way, because then they have a decision to make. But we're not near that point yet, and they believe in me, and I believe in what we're trying to do. I believe in my backroom staff as well. So I know it sounds like I'm repeating myself time and time again, but we do believe we'll turn it around and quickly.
As far as the game itself, of course, I have mentioned it's not that I've exonerated him from any blame, but I look at his captain and I just think he's 35 years of age. He's given absolutely everything, and I think sometimes he's become an easy target for people. I think there are a few in the firing line before Scott Brown, but he still comes out as a trooper, as he has done over this 10, 11-year period, and said basically he's backing the manager. This is what he had to say on the pressure on his manager. We need to work harder for the manager, make sure we win games and get this club back to where we should be. We believe in the manager, and we know we need to make sure we start to get results, and extremely quickly. The manager is a winner. He instills that into us every day at training. This is what he drives into us. He did it last season, and it seems to be not clicking at the top end of the park, in the middle, or at the back at the moment. For us, it is disappointing. We can't do that for him because he has put that much faith into us. He's worked extremely hard. Him and his backroom staff are feeling the disappointment as well. And basically, to finish it all off, he says, stick with us through thick and thin. We will sort this out and get back to winning ways, and we are with you all the way. So that's the captain, and that's what you need from him, because there have been other managers, Tam. This is one thing that I think, to his credit, there are other managers who've faced the same dilemma, and the captains come out and stood by most of them. Maybe not Ronnie Dyler, but certainly the rest of them. It was a wee bit too far-fetched to stick by him.
Yeah, no, listen, I think there's one finger you can't point at, and it's Scott Brown. I think he's only guilty, as you said, of getting old. You know, he's 35 years old now. I think the lockdown came at the wrong time for him at this age in this stage of his career. You know, when you're 34, 35, you need to be in training every day. You need to be in training hard, working hard, just to keep your fitness up. And I know Scott spoke to me during the lockdown. He was finding it very difficult not training, and not training every day, not playing games. So the only thing he's guilty of is obviously getting older. I think he's still giving everything he can on the pitch. He still believes off the pitch. But there's going to come a time where he's going to have to step aside, and it's going to let a younger guy coming through. So whether that stage is now, I don't know. It's up to Neil Lennon. But you've got guys in there who are chomping at the bit to get an opportunity. I think David Turnbull is one who I thought would have got more game time at Celtic. He seems to be on the periphery. He's not getting a chance at all. So there's one that could maybe come in terms of Scott Brown's place. But I feel as if you're going to play Scott Brown, you know, you're going to play him 90 minutes, you know, and you've got to pick and choose when you're going to play him, Peter, because I think playing him, starting him, the captain, then bringing him off after 60 minutes every game must be demoralising for him as a player, and it must be demoralising for the other players round about him. You know, your captain's getting taken off every game after 60 minutes. Your captain should be the main man. He should be playing 90 minutes and driving the team on, whether that's a goalkeeper or a defender or a midfielder or a striker. That's your main man. He's got to drive them on. So I've said this for a number of weeks, Peter. Taking Scott Brown off after 60 minutes is not a good look. It doesn't look good for Celtic. And so Neil's got a decision to make whether he plays him 90 minutes, he doesn't play him at all, or he changes the captaincy. Because I don't think bringing him off after 60 minutes is doing anyone any good whatsoever. Yeah,
and my personal opinion on this whole affair is there are 6 or 7 in front of him that I think have to take a long, hard, serious look at themselves. Now, listen, Roughie's got his opinion on it. Tam's got his. I've got mine. You know, if it was a situation where you're looking at somebody who you've got a lot of time for and you like, you're friendly with them, then we all want to see people stay in a job. But on this programme, we are journalists, pundits. We've got to call it as we see it because of what we're watching. Doesn't necessarily mean any of us are right. Paul McQuaid, I'm going to read his point out because I think it's pertinent that we try and get a real flavour of people who are commenting on whether it be Celtic, Rangers, St Mirren, Hibs, whatever. Paul says, can't sack a coach one game away from delivering a world record. The quadruple treble. I'll repeat that. A world record. Let that sink in. Once again, Celtic setting the standards. So there's so many people with different views on whether he should stay or go. And there's all sorts of what I would call mischievous points, which is basically dressing room unrest, individual players who are fighting, some that want to go, some don't. That goes on. I'm not saying any of the messages that are coming through on Facebook are not true. I'm saying that goes on. I think there are people in that squad who are working to their own agenda, playing for themselves, not giving the manager the full 100%, and you can see that in the way they're playing. Some of them are clueless. Some of them really have been told they're great players by their agents or somebody else, but they're not great players on the park. Simple as that. So we will wait and see. It's not going to be one of these situations where somebody's going to say, I told you so, because let's not forget the person involved here, and some of the abuse that goes on towards Neil Lennon is bang out of order. We're dealing with looking at the overview of the results. So, with that in mind, Gordon McFadden says, Roughie, smile, because he clearly knows you've had 3 days of a huff. You know, when you're in a ding dong and you and I are just doing the old Tom and Jerry, scalping each other with a frying pan. You know, people know, Roughie, when you're going in a huff in your face. You know, your face automatically gives it away. It's not a crime that you've got that opinion, Roughie. It's
a crime. It's a crime the heating's turned up in this room. That's what the crime is. She's done it deliberately.
Yeah, well, exactly, you know. Listen, apart from anything else, it's all about opinions on this. So let's have your opinion. I think Celtic will lose the game 3-0. Tam?
It's hard to disagree with that, Peter. The form that AC Milan are in, I think they're the best team they've had for a number of years. Zlatan's obviously out injured. I think they'll make a few changes, but I still think they'll be too strong for Celtic. As a Celtic fan, I don't think you can stomach your team going over there and getting hammered and not performing, not putting the effort in for the manager. I don't think there's any such thing as a free hit when you're at a club like Celtic. So supporters will be watching, they'll be wanting a performance, they'll be wanting to see players working hard and putting a right shift in for the manager and for the fans. So I think it'll be a narrow defeat for Celtic, but I think they'll play with a bit more pride. I'll go for 2-1 to Milan.
2-1. Roughie?
Wow, 2-1. Wow.
2-1 to AC Milan. He's going 2-1 AC Milan, not 2-1 Celtic. He's going 2-1 AC Milan. Roughie, what are you going for?
No, the evidence of 3-1 at Parkhead. You know, you would think they would struggle. I'm just some kind of performance, some kind of 2-1. I think would be a great result for Celtic, but we don't know. None of us know whether they're up for it. None of us know what's going to happen. Honestly, you don't. I just, from a Scottish point of view and a Scottish team, I hope it's a reasonable result and a good performance.
Prediction?
2-1 now, Gab. 2-1. Be happy with 2-1.
2-1 Celtic?
No, 2-1 Milan, that would be.
2-1 Milan, okay, yeah. Right. Just clarifying that. 30 seconds of woulda, coulda, shoulda. But anyway, 2-1 Milan, right. What do you make of Roughie Dave King selling his shares? Club 1872 have the chance to purchase these shares. He's going to take a hit, he says, on these shares, but he's giving the fans the chance to own. Well, they would be absolutely a 25% stake in the club. They would actually be the kingpins themselves if they get these shares, and if they've got the 12-13 million pounds to actually buy them. What do you make of it?
Well, as you know, I'm not a financial wizard. I'm not into shares and what's this and what's that. All I'm looking at, and I know the supporters, he wants to give the shares to the sport. I just wonder what the other big shareholders would think of that, you know, for other people to have a majority with the amount of money that the Douglas Park's been pumping into the club. I know the objective, obviously, is fans on the board at some stage, so that's down the line. You know, it's a tremendous gesture from him, but I'm not an expert in shares and all that stuff, so it'd be wrong of me to comment 100% on what's happening.
It's a big call. I mean, listen, there are fans who own clubs and have a major say in electing presidents. I think of Barcelona on this situation, where even Joan Laporta is ready to try and, I think, go for his third stint as president of the club. But this one is an interesting one. Obviously, the Rangers fans have to stump up the cash again to buy the shares, which will go to Mr. King. But they will have a major say in the club, Tam. My only concern with this, and I talk about many of the big clubs who look to make a real impact in domestic football and European football, I think you need a major benefactor, someone who has the major say, the Dermot Desmonds of the world. Previously for Rangers, it was David Murray.
Yeah, listen, I think a fans-owned club works with smaller clubs. In terms of big clubs, big clubs who want to go and win things and do well in Europe, I feel as if you need a guy with deep pockets. And you look at Abramovich at Chelsea and guys like that. So I think you're right. I think it's great that the supporters are getting involved at Rangers. I think Dave King's obviously done brilliant with the club. He's came in, he saved the club, he's pumped a lot of his own money in, and he's obviously looking to get some of his money back now. Let's be honest, those shares that get sold will go into his pocket, and the fans will be involved in the club. But I agree with you. I think that Rangers, Celtic, big clubs in Europe need one backer, one president who's got deep pockets. I don't think the supporters have got that. I don't think they've got deep pockets. Club 1872, the money that they need to put in to get Rangers back to being a powerhouse again.
Yeah, one of the people that I've got tremendous respect for, Roughie, is Douglas Park. He's put his money where his mouth is, and 3 or 4 other individuals, the Hong Kong businessmen as well. They've all put money in at times when Rangers really needed it. So I don't know about you. Do you feel as if it needs to be one major person guiding the ship?
Yeah, I still not get my head around how it actually works. The supporter involvement, as Tam says, at a massive club like Rangers. We're talking about millions and millions of pounds. And I'm not saying the supporters coming in don't have any business sense at all, but I think that you attract the big money people that you're talking about there because of the Douglas Parks. People aren't going to invest 4 and 5 million unless they know the people they're going to be working with, and that's the asset of having people like Douglas Park there who can attract that kind of person.
Yeah, and let's not forget, if the 1872 buy the shares, these are shares that Dave King is selling, that he has in the club. So the money will go directly to him, but it gives, the 1872 and the fans who put their money in there, a major stake in the club. Whether that's a good thing or not, it's open to debate. Certainly Steven Gerrard was glowing in his praise of his relationship with Dave King.
My relationship with Dave is really strong, still in constant dialogue with Dave. Although what I would say is yesterday's news was new to me. I didn't have any idea that was going to break, so I haven't really had time to read up about it or educate myself, if you like, on what could happen in the short, medium and long term. I suppose it's a positive in terms of what I have read so far, in terms of the fans getting closer and giving them more ownership, if you like.
Yeah, so he's very, very positive about that, and why not? Everything in the moment on the pitch is rosy for Rangers to get into the match against Standard Liège, knowing a win at Ibrox tomorrow, Tam, and they're into the last 32 with a game to spare.
Yeah, Rangers have been outstanding in Europe this season. I think they were disappointed not to beat Benfica twice, which shows you how far they've came as a club. I think Steven Gerrard's done a terrific job from the start in Europe, in European football. I think he's really made a name for himself all across Europe for the performances that Rangers have put in. And I think they'll beat Standard Liège comfortably tomorrow. I think that Standard Liège are a different team home and away. I think they've got a great home record, but away from home they're very, very poor. And Rangers are so strong at Ibrox at the minute that you wouldn't see anything other than a comfortable Rangers win and getting through to the next round. And maybe rotate a few players as well. He's got a squad champion at the bit, all fit, all ready to play. And he's got plenty of options there, and it must be a dream for him as a manager to have these players playing with confidence, and he can, whoever he puts into the team is fit, ready to go, and is playing with confidence. So I think Rangers will win 3-0.
Yeah, I share that view, Tam. I'm right on the mark with you as well. I think Rangers will win it with a couple of goals, Roughie. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think Rangers will be impressive at home. I think 2-0 would be a good one. I'm not too sure. Just remind me, is there any advantage winning that group? No, the way it is in the Champions League, being first or second, you just go into the draw just the same.
Yeah, you get into the last 32 and you take your chances. You
take
get
it
an
as right.
absolute
So it's
bumper.
not like the Champions League where you're first, you avoid other firsts. No, it's not a seeded thing. No, at home, but you want to put up a good result, and you want people in the next 32 to be looking at Rangers' record, because as soon as you're drawn against somebody, they'll look at the teams they've beat, they'll look at the score line, and you want to frighten a few people out there. With the results that you've got. So a healthy win, and that finishing with a big number of points, depending on who they get drawn against. That team would have to seriously have a look at the points that Rangers have amassed in that group.
And can you pay your respects to the goalkeeper, Alan McGregor? Because if he plays tomorrow night, that's his 83rd European appearance for Rangers. He actually bypasses the number 6 Barry Ferguson.
Yes.
I mean, I know Stephen Gerrard was very complimentary about Alan McGregor and says he's one of the top goalkeepers that he's had the pleasure to be alongside.
Yeah, and he's the first one he identified in rebuilding the club. I think he was one of the first signings. He made it a priority, and Barry's spoken so often about Alan McGregor, his worth to the club, and I think particularly in European football, you know, the amount of games that he's not won single-handedly, but he's helped along the way, and that's the evidence, you know, playing against top-class European sides. I was surprised when he dropped out of the international setup. I thought he should have hung on in there. He wasn't that far away for 50 caps, which would have been another momentous occasion for him, but he was obviously looking after his injuries and that. But no, I think if you see how good a goalkeeper is, can you think of any mistakes he's made? I mean, I can't think of a bad mistake that he's made in the last 2 or 3 years. I really can't. You know, that just shows you the quality that he has.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. He's a top. I mean, he's for me the best goalkeeper in the country, unless you're going to tell me differently, Tam.
No, Alan's a top goalkeeper. I've known Alan for years. We came through the Scotland under-21s together, and even then he was a winner. When it was 5-a-sides, playing cards with him, anything. He was a bandit at the cards. He's a winner, and he wants to win at everything. And I think he's a great professional as well. He still looks after himself. You can see how fit he is. You know, no carrying any weight. He's ready to go every game, and I think he's been a brilliant signing for Steven Gerrard, and for him to come in, I think he'll go on and be a legend at Rangers. I really do. I think he's still got another 4 or 5 years in him. The shape he's in, he can play until he's 40.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he'd be happy to sign a new contract. He's certainly not put any great thought into the record that he's about to achieve.
At the moment, we're just concentrating on the game, but I'll probably kick in later in life just to realise what an achievement is. Obviously, it's a very proud one. Just to be a part of the history will be unbelievable.
Yep, full marks to him for that amazing record, and I think Rangers should be able to secure their place in the last 32. Here's how the British clubs are faring in this Europa League. This is what's on offer tomorrow night if you are going to be watching it. AC Milan Celtic, Zorya Luhansk against Leicester, Lask against Tottenham, Rangers against Standard Liège, Molde against Dundalk, and Arsenal take on Rapid Vienna. I picked up on something today. You'll never believe it. It was in it was in a Nottingham local paper. Roughie, I wonder if you can tell me. That might give you a little hint on it. I read this story today and I thought, wow. Can you tell me which Nottingham Forest player managed to get Diego Maradona's shirt in that 1986 quarter-final tie in Mexico? If you pull this out of the hat, you will be an absolute legend. And I'm going to apologise for all the mumbo-jumbo that you were talking at the start of the programme.
England, Argentina, Notts Forest player.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, think of the England team.
Midfielder, Nottingham Forest. There you are. And he absolutely ripped Celtic to shreds when he played against Celtic up here for Brian Clough's side in the European Cup. There you are. I don't know how much I can give you. Do you want me to just give you all the letters and jumble them about?
Guess his first name.
The show's about finished.
I know, exactly. I don't know why I bothered. Any shout on this? Well done to Hugh Scott, who's come on right away and said...
Oh, I should get this.
And Robbie Ferguson's just come on as well and said it. Steve Hodge. So there you are. And Steve Hodge got his... Do you remember when Maradona scores the goal? He runs away, and the one thing that stuck in my head, Tam, was he was running away and the number 10 on the back was all sparkly. It was like a silver with a sheen of sparkles in it. It was an unbelievable top, and he's had it all this time. And people have been chapping Steve Hodge's door, and other newspapers.
How much is that worth, Peter?
Well, other newspapers have been writing that he's desperate to sell it, and he said, "I am not desperate to sell it. I've had it for over 30 odd years. I went in and convinced Maradona to give me it at the end of the game. I've got it. I've no intention of selling it. I might sell it later on in life.
£1 million, Peter.
Honestly, that jersey, that's easily
priceless.
$1 million.
That's priceless.
Oh, easily $1 million.
I
think maybe more, Tam.
I know it's not that jersey, but you've actually had your hands on one as well. Diego Maradona signed Argentina strip at a lunch, and I can't believe you were £50 away from buying it, and somebody else beat you to it.
Is that right? Is that right?
You were 50, and I know. I'll tell you who got it.
Was it 250?
I'll tell you who got it after the show. But you were £50 away from actually getting it. It's an authentic Diego Maradona with V10 underneath it.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I like talking about these things because I would say to you,
Roughie rubbing it in.
Well, exactly. How to make me spew? That's him getting me back for battering him at the start of the programme. But I have to say, you're right. I agree with you guys. I think it's going to be worth millions because apart from the fact that it was so significant with the hand of God, apart from the fact, well, the main fact for me is it is the shirt worn by the player for me who scored the greatest ever World Cup goal. I've never seen a better goal than that. The standard, the pitch, the players, the skill, the finish. Unless you can tell me differently, Roughie.
No. I think Terry Butcher and Peter Shilton are putting in a joint bid for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know they are. Okay.
At least I'm not
another
better.
one. I think we should say happy birthday today. It's his 72nd birthday. I know he's a big fan of the show. He watches it, tapes it over in the Czech Republic. Antonin Panenka is 72 today. And for the benefit of Tam, European Championship, last penalty, sudden death, Sepp Maier, boom. That's what you call bottle. So happy birthday! Yes, absolutely. Happy birthday to him. Anyway, and thank you for that, Neil Gray, who has said to me, he's the first person to score the now copied Panenka. Well, you're absolutely right, Neil, because that's how it was known as the Panenka. So, but well done, Neil, for mentioning it as well. We did mention it just there. Listen, I don't know about you guys, but gutted for the girls last night. The Scotland women's team, Roughie, I have never seen a more ridiculous goal to kill off Scotland's hopes in all my life. They are playing lovely one-touch football. There was a moment with a beautiful bit of skill on the left-hand side where there's a minute to go. Get the ball into the box, throw it into the box, somebody might get their head on it, but she comes back out, squares it across the 18-yard area, and then Finland break up the field. This girl belts it off the goalkeeper, and it comes back and scalps her in the face and goes in the net. You couldn't make it up.
Yeah, and if there's any consolation, it wasn't the goal that done them. Scotland obviously had to win the game, so a draw wouldn't have been any good at all. So, yeah, you could see the signs, the despair after it, and I think we've all been there, particularly when you don't miss out in a big qualifying competition. They all got a taste of it being there the last time, and they know what they've missed, but you just have to go on with it. It's an improving side. There'll be other competitions to play in, and they must be really, really disappointed.
Yeah, well, they've done the country proud over the last couple of competitions. So if this makes them more determined, one of the things I do agree with a number of the Scottish players said it, it needs massive backing. It needs more investment. It needs to go to another level again. And I think, if we get that, we will start to, I think in the next maybe 20 to 30 years, we will start to talk about women's football on a par with the same way you look at women's tennis and men's tennis. Big superstars, household names, and hopefully, idols that, like today, many people will look up to, girls will look up to, guys will look up to in the future who are playing for Scotland women's team, and of course, the likes of Glasgow City, Rangers, Celtic, Hibs, the list goes on. Anyway, apart from that, a couple of things to get your thoughts on, guys. Of course, one of the good bits of news is Frank Lampard's come out. It looks as if Billy Gilmour's got a chance of playing for Chelsea in the Champions League. And Lampard says, there is a space for him now. He's back fit.
He's in the squad tomorrow. It would be nice if he can get some minutes over, particularly these two Champions League games remaining in the group stage. And where do I see him? I see him hopefully coming back at the level he was at just before he got injured. He made a great impact. There'll be so much more to come from him generally at this club because of the talent that he has. He's got a great attitude, trains brilliantly. He's looking spot on, so he comes in just to compete in the squad with the other players in that midfield area.
Oh, for me, that's brilliant news, Tam, because before the injury, I thought he looked every inch a Chelsea midfielder. He just, one so young, but just a mature head on those shoulders.
Yep, I think he's got frightening talent, Peter. I really do. I think he can go on and be one of our best ever players. I think he's that good, honestly. His attitude off the pitch, as Frank Lampard said there, see him on the pitch, the ability he has. Obviously, I think the injury came at a bad time for him. He was doing really well on the park, but if that's been able to him, he went to the gym and build himself up, then I think it's for the best for him. I think he come back a stronger player, upper body wise. He's only small. And I know that doesn't count for much if you've got ability, but if you've got the strength as well, the physique and the ability, then I think he's going to be a top player. So I'd like to see him playing, obviously getting minutes, and I'd like to see him force his way into the Scotland squad because I think he would definitely be in the Scotland squad, Peter, if he was fit, and hopefully he comes back in the same form he was in because I think he's an unbelievably talented young footballer.
I think he's got the makings to be the linchpin of the Scotland midfield for the next 10, 12 years. Roughie, do you?
Oh, if he can go into that Chelsea team and play with the international stars that are in that Chelsea side and hold his own, and as Tam says, gets games under his belt, he'll be oozing a confidence that he knows that he can compete with these stars down in England, and then when we get him, he's obviously going to be fantastic. And another addition to our midfield, which is really, really good just now, but we're all thinking that he's the one, and that could be just the missing link. We've not had a really, really star player for a long, long time, so we're really hoping it could be him.
Yeah, Stuart Carruthers posts messages from time to time. He likes a wee noise up every now and then, and we were talking about that Finland goal and how ridiculous it was, and just a nightmare for Scotland to lose a goal in such a manner. But Stuart Carruthers has put everything in perspective. He says, was it worse than Alan Hansen and Willie Miller against Russia? Well, Stuart, a lot of people forget in that game when Alan Hansen and Willie Miller ran into each other. They were almost at the halfway line when they did that. There was still a long way to go. We could have beaten Russia had the goalkeeper for Scotland decided to take out Shengelia, who was 1-on-1 20 yards out. Had the goalie decided to put his nation first and taken Shengelia out, we could have brought a substitute goalkeeper on of equally good stature and hopefully maybe got a winner in that match rather than Shengelia scoring the goal and us having to rely on Souness for an equaliser. I mean, if the goalkeeper, Tam, had taken Shengelia out like we were all shouting at that point, Tam, we could have been into the knockout stages for the first time in our history.
Roughie glued his line.
In fact, no, I waited. The thing was just when you said that there, I can just imagine as we speak, the videos that would be going about. If I had to come out of the box and started chasing this guy to pull him down, I'd have been an absolute legend. Imagine I ran out of the box and tried to catch him and missed him. You just to me that.
Honestly, Roughie, you just take a header right into him. It's as simple as that. So I can remember shouting at the time, "Take him out, Roughie, take him out," but it didn't happen. Anyway, apart from anything else, listen, it was a good performance by Scotland in '82 as well. I certainly enjoyed watching you in all your glory, Roughie, at that time. I'm trying to be nice to you at the end of the programme rather than
you just kiss and make up yours too.
Yeah.
Well, of course. Listen, we argue all the time.
Referee in the middle here.
It doesn't affect them. Listen, the one great thing I could say about Roughie, Tam, and obviously you're going to have to learn this lesson when we start caning you from time to time, you can argue with a big man till you're blue in the face, and you meet him 10 minutes later and you think you just met him for the first time that day. He's the most laid-back character ever, he's unbelievable. Anyway, apart from anything else, I watched Liverpool Ajax last night. Boy, I wish I hadn't, Tam. It was murder to watch.
Yeah, I was flicking through a few of the games. I watched a bit of the Inter Milan game. That was a great game, 3-2. The one at Mönchengladbach, but good result for Liverpool. Obviously puts them through, and I don't think they get any injuries either. So I think it's all about the result. And the young boy Curtis Jones got the goal as well, so great for him. But I think Liverpool are obviously through, and they'll look ahead to the games ahead.
Yep, there's the results from last night, and I'll get your thoughts, Roughie, on what you're going to watch tonight. Salzburg beating Lokomotiv, Atletico Madrid and Bayern 1-1. Donetsk beating Real Madrid. What's happening to Real Madrid? Inter edging it by 3-2. Porto Man City. Did anybody watch that one? Marseille beating Olympiacos, Atalanta and Michelin 1-1. And of course, Liverpool defeating Ajax. What about tonight? Where's your money going? Who are you going to watch from this set? Krasnodar, Rennes, Sevilla, Chelsea, Dortmund, Lazio is where Hugh McDonald will be casting his eye, I'm almost certain. Bruges against Zenit. Ferencváros against Barcelona. Juventus Dynamo Kiev. Istanbul against Leipzig. And there's my money, Tam. I'll be watching Manchester United against PSG.
Yeah, that'll be a cracker. I think that'll be a great game. I think Man United, obviously, at the weekend there, I think Pochettino was getting measured for his suit for the Man United job at half-time against Southampton, and then yet again he's had to put it back in the cupboard because Ollie seems to have 9 lives. He seems to be, every time he needs a result, he gets one. And I wouldn't put it past Man United beating PSG. PSG are in poor form at the minute. So I think Man United could do them.
Yeah, will you watch that one, Roughie?
Yeah, I think that's the main one. I think all the interest is in that game. As Tam said there, Super Sub comes on at the weekend. It goes 2 cracking goals. And that's what they bought him for. I can't remember how much they paid for him, but that's why he's there. So I wouldn't be surprised if he comes up with something tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as it's not an Instagram quote, then I think he'll be all right. Okay, just one little thing before we go, and I think it's Michael Climie who summed it up perfectly, and this is the last point for everybody. There's 2 things that are bugging people. One, the amount of people have said, come on, Roughie, tell us who the guy is that outbid me for the Maradona shirt. Is it sensitive? Is it controversial? Is it somebody that you just keeping a secret?
No, I don't think you would like to know that he's got it.
Okay, then that's fine. Don't say it then. But Michael Climie has posed the most important question, which I think we're going to have to ask this on the programme today and finish off with it, which is, Peter, will Charlie Adam be claiming his fee for his 2-second appearance today on the programme? He was in a close in Glasgow where there wasn't great light, and he was still trying to come on and offer his opinion, Tam. And I have to ask you, Tam, has he got the brass neck to claim a fee for 2 seconds in the middle of a Glasgow close?
Surely not. If he claims that, he's got cheek to claim his Dundee wages as well, to be honest. Well, he'll probably claim you as well.
He'll be paid the equivalent pro rata. We'll send him £1.
Yeah, there's a pound for 50 pence for every second. Anyway, apart from anything else, we will again look in greater detail tomorrow, just ahead of remember AC Milan Celtics 5-6, that kicks off, and then Rangers against Standard Liège, an 8 o'clock kick-off. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about all the other stories. Don't forget, you can like, share and follow us on our Facebook page. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can click in and watch it on the app, because if you download the app, you get all the latest news right across the board. Scottish, English, world football, European football, it's all there on the app. But you can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And just before we go, Tam, all I'm telling you is the new Maestro training top is coming out tomorrow. There's red, there's green, there's blue, and there's black, and these are the ones that you kiss the badge.
Are we getting one? Are you getting is the team getting one?
These are top drawer, by the way, Tam. I think I might be able to organise you one of your colour. I presume you'll want a green one. Roughie, not quite sure what one he will choose, but nevertheless, if you're thinking about Christmas, then nothing would please your mum, your dad, your best friend, your brother or sister than a wee Legends t-shirt. It's the perfect Christmas gift for your dad, mum, your brother, your sister, your best friend. The Legends limited edition series by sports artist Jim Scullion is available to order now. From t-shirt to canvas to prints, select your favourite legend of football. From Larson to Laudrup, Pele to Maradona, Messi or Ronaldo. Order your perfect stocking filler now by clicking on the link to own your very own limited edition legend.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.